And this beautiful cathedral was started in the end of the 14th century when Polish King Casimir the Great ordered to start construction of this big cathedral. Up till today, this cathedral remains the largest and the oldest active in Ukraine. The masses are done in Polish, in Ukrainian language also, and once a week on Sunday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, even in English. In the old times, there was a graveyard around that which was stopped by Austrian government, and you already know what happened to cemeteries in Lviv. And now I invite you to see this beautiful cathedral, which has a lot of stained glass and a lot of details and 6 different chapels, and the interior, which is today completely Baroque. So Latin Cathedral of Assumption of Our Lady was started in the end of the 14th century, and the construction lasts more than 100 years. Today, the cathedral represents a mixture of different styles. Mostly it is Baroque. The cathedral is called the Assumption of Our Lady, and there are paintings on walls and ceilings that describe the life of Virgin Mary from her birth till her Assumption. The cathedral has the main altar and 2 secondary altars to the left and right. The secondary altars are also done in Baroque style from green marble. The left altar is called of a Holy Trinity and the right one of Resurrection. Latin Cathedral is also valuable because it has relics of John Paul II. In the year 2001, John Paul visited Ukraine. In June, Kiev and Lviv. There was one Mass in the Catholic style in this cathedral and 2 Masses open air. Since then, we have his holy relic. Latin Cathedral is rich on beautiful stained glass, and the stained glass is in the altar part and also behind the big organ, which is actually one of the oldest active organs of the 18th century that accompanies every Mass. There is a place where there is a restoration of the stained glass called Virgin Mary, the Queen of Angels, which was done on the sketches of a very famous Polish artist, Jan Matejko. So this is the altar of God's resurrection, and it is done in the Baroque style from green marble and gilded. It's 18th century, and it has a sarcophagus with relics of saints. This chapel to the right side is called the Chapel of the Bishops, and where the bishops buried in the crypt, and there is a statue of the Archbishop Bilchevsky. And in the interior of this chapel, there is one of the oldest interior parts of the cathedral, which is the cross, which dates back to the 14th century. The Chapel of Black Madonna from Częstochowa, and John Paul II holds the replica of Black Madonna from Częstochowa, which is one of the very famous pilgrimage sites in Poland, and also Belt and Cane and Holy Hair of John Paul II. After the death of John Paul, he was canonized as a saint, and we have his relics. One more chapel, which is called the Chapel of the Poor. It has a very beautiful stained glass. It doesn't mean that the poor people were buried in the crypt of this chapel, but the poor people really like to come for prayers. Here you can see the jewelry, which are gratitudes to certain people who cured up diseases by certain miraculous icons. And there you can see hearts, legs, eyes, and ears. If the person couldn't see, the power of the miraculous icon made him see. If somebody couldn't walk, he believed in the help of the miraculous icon, and then he started walking. Here is the altar of the Holy Trinity, which is dating back to the 18th century, and it has the icon of Holy Trinity and sarcophagus with relics of one of the saints who was a patron saint of Lviv in the 15th century. So if you come close, in this sarcophagus there is a piece of bone of Saint Jan from Dukla, who was a Bernardine monk, and after his canonization, and well, after so many centuries afterwards, we got his piece of bone. This beautiful newly restored chapel is called the Chapel of Holy Sacraments. It represents the Baroque style altar with the statues of Saint Peter and Paul and two evangelists, a beautiful fresco on the top, on the cupola. The Chapel of Holy Sacraments, it's called. The Chapel of Saint Anthony and Virgin Mary. Here you can see a crowned icon of Virgin Mary, so it's a miraculous icon. On the top, the stained glass with Saint Anthony. He is shown there as the monk in the desert, and the last icon is Saint Anthony, a monk. The last chapel on the left side is called the Chapel of Campians. It dates back to the 16th and 17th century, and it belonged to a very famous and rich family of Campians. One of them was the Burgmeister, or the mayor of Lviv. So the chapel is representing late 17th century style, and it is made of marble. There is a fresco on the cupola, and it has the altar with the statues of Saint Peter and Paul in marble, and on the left and right side there are portraits and epitaphs for the family members of Campian's family. I hope you enjoyed the Latin Cathedral. Come for the prayer in Roman Catholic style in any language, Polish, Ukrainian or English. You can organize here baptizing, weddings also. Sometimes there are different concerts, and people even from other denominations can also come and enjoy.